Hey everyone, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to get oriented to the IS 399, ES 300 and 301, and then also the IS 442 course. And I know some of you were unable to make it to the group meeting, so we wanted to be able to make this accessible to everybody. So I'm going to spend some time going through some of the course information. I'm going to actually go into one of our profiles. So each of you should have had created for you a Google kind of Drive folder. So we're going to go into the new student. If you don't have a folder shared with you, please connect with either myself or Rich and we'll get that folder set up for you. So inside the folder, you're going to see a couple of subfolders, assignments and class documents, which we'll come to in a little bit. A folder called Completed Assignments for Grading. This particular folder is where you will submit all of the documentation that you're going to turn in for either Rich or I to review each week. So please make sure to pay attention to that folder. You have a folder for evaluations, a folder for journal assignments, where the actual journal assignments are. You will not report your journals to that folder. You're actually going to post them to this Completed for Assignments for Grading folder. See if I can make this a little bit bigger here. And then also the syllabus folder. So I'm going to pull up the syllabus and we'll take sort of a walk through the syllabus. So there are instructors for the course, myself and Rich Marshall. Most of you probably know already who you'll be working with, so please make sure to communicate with the appropriate advisor for the course as we go along. You can sort of look at the course learning outcomes and sort of understand what we're looking for there. Ultimately, the internship course is meant to be sort of a reflective experience, giving you an opportunity to sort of better understand the things that you're doing within your internship, how they're going to apply to your next professional sort of outcome, whether that's a job or whether that's a graduate school. So we want you to understand how your academic preparation is influencing the experience that you're going to have. With the course requirements, the course is ultimately self-directed. You should stay on track with all the deadlines and expectations. We typically don't remind you of those expectations or those deadlines just because they're pretty easy to follow, and you'll see a list of those further in the syllabus there. The course is pass-fail. If you do pass the course, the pass does not impact your GPA. However, the fail does. Typically, if we are finding that you're struggling with the course material, we've had a conversation prior to us getting to the point where that fail might be a possibility. So please work with us to have some conversation about where you're at with turning in documents and things like that. Like I mentioned, the course requires you to use a Google Drive or Google Drive will have everything posted on D2L, but typically everything that you're going to need will be in that Google Drive folder. You'll also need to use Handshake. Hopefully all of you have been on Handshake or have been sort of familiarized with Handshake, but if you haven't, you'll have an opportunity to do a couple of things in Handshake this semester with the course as well. You're going to need to make sure that you know how to scan documents and post them. There's a couple of documents that are going to require that you download them, fill them out, and then have both you and your supervisor sign them. In those cases, we don't want electronic signatures, we want actual signatures. So you'll have to download, fill them out, and then scan those back in to post to your folder. If you're on campus here and you need a place to scan them, I believe all of the campus labs have that capability. And then also if you want to stop into career services, we can scan them and email them to your folder as well. So just so you know that you have some options for scanning if you don't have them at your organizations. When it comes to hours, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger even here. So based on hours, is going to be based on the amount of credits that you're seeking. So if you're doing 1 credit, it's 47 hours. If you're doing 2 credits, it'll be 93 hours, and then 3 credits, 140 hours. If you're doing in conjunction the IS 442, if you're doing 1 credit, it's an additional 47. If you're doing 2 credits, it's an additional 93 hours. If you're doing an additional 3 credits, up to another 140 hours. And so we would have had some conversation with you about how many specific hours you need to put in. The actual coursework for the class does not change depending on the hours you do. No matter how many hours you're doing, the coursework stays exactly the same. The only difference is, like I said, the amount of hours that you're going to do. If you've done some hours prior to the beginning of the semester, we do have a form that you can fill out that you can get some credit for those hours prior to the semester. You can get credit for 40 hours prior to the semester, and I'll show you that form in a little bit. Partway into the internship, you're going to complete something called the Internship Description and Photo. There are some instructions in the folder, and I'll walk you through that once we get to the folder. You're also going to do, within the first couple of weeks, a goal sheet. This is one of those documents where you will need to download that document, fill it out with your supervisor, and then you'll have to upload that signed copy to your Google folder. This goal sheet is meant to get you both and you and your supervisor on the same track. So please spend some time sitting down, talking to each other about what you're hoping to learn, things that you want to experience with the internship. We do recommend that you start out identifying 3 to 5 goals that you want to accomplish, and then you can always come back to that document later in the semester as you start checking things off. A major portion of the internship is then going to be journal reflections. You will reply on a bi-weekly basis to journals. So I'll show you some of those examples of the journal reflections when we go back to the folder here. But you will be doing journals and posting on a bi-weekly basis. We will do, about midway through the semester, an individual site visit, phone or video conference. So about midway through, we want to do a check-in just to see how things are going. So we'll ask that you schedule that meeting, whether it be in person, via phone, or video conference. We'll have you schedule that. Prior to that visit, we will expect you to complete something that we call the mid-semester joint evaluation. This is meant to be completed by both you and your supervisor at the same time. So you should do this, sit down together at your supervision meeting to fill that out. When we meet with you for the site visit, that would be something that either Rich and I will sort of refer to as we're having discussion with you. One of the other expectations is at some point we'll ask you to update your resume. We want you to include your internship, and we want you to also include that in your Google folder, and we want you posting it to Handshake. At the end of the semester, you're going to complete something called the Comprehensive Paper or Special Project. There are instructions for these projects in your Google folder, and I'll show you those when we get back to the folder. You also will do some evaluations. I already mentioned one mid-semester that you'll do with your supervisor, but there's also 2 at the end, one for you and one for your supervisor. There is a link to each of those evaluations in the Google folder, and I will show you those in a little bit. Finally, at the very end of the internship, you will complete another form. This one is called the Internship Hours Verification Sheet. We want you to keep a running tally of the hours that you're completing, and then post that once you and your supervisor have signed it to the Google Drive at the end of the term. All right, when it comes to grading, in terms of what you need to turn in, for the actual pass grade, a minimum of 163 points will get you to that passing grade. There are a couple of things that you need to do that are sort of check-offs. One of them is the internship agreement form, attendance at the initial meeting, and the hours verification sheet. Most of you have the internship agreement form turned in already. And this reviewing this video will actually take place of the actual attendance at the initial meeting, if that's something that we have sort of worked out ahead of time. And you'll see there are some points associated with sort of the pieces that go along with each of the, so the goal sheet, the description, the photo, etc. There are some points associated with those assignments, and so you'll get those points as you turn those sort of things in. There will be sort of some deductions. So if you turn in things late or beyond deadlines, you may lose some points, 5 to 10 points, depending on sort of when things are turned in. So we do ask you to sort of use these deadlines to, fill in your planner, make yourself some notifications, so that you don't forget to turn things in. So as you can see here, we have some assignment deadlines. So obviously we're kind of going through the information that we will be covering at the initial class meeting, the group meeting. So you be able to check those things off. Sunday, February 11th is the next deadline, and that first set of journals will be due. Your goal sheet is due, the internship description and photo is due, and then also there's a photo and video release form that you can fill out as well in the Google folder. So please make sure that you start working on these things because they are due by Sunday, February 11th. Then you'll start to see the other deadlines are also bi-weekly. So Sunday, February 25th is the next deadline. Weeks 3 and 4 journals are due. We do ask that you then set up your site visit or phone call sometime between March 5th and April 2nd. Both Rich and I, our calendars get pretty full with appointments and presentations and all kinds of things throughout the semester. So by Sunday, February 25th, we do want you to have at least scheduled your site visit. But site visits can take place anytime between March 5th and April 2nd. Then you'll see the next deadline is March 11th. The next deadline is April 1st. We do want, for that April 1st deadline, an updated resume uploaded to your Google folder and posted to Handshake. We realize that there is spring break in there as well, so some of you might be actually on break and not working, but if you are, there is a separate journal for you to submit for spring break. So please take note of that. The next deadline is April 15th, and then following, again, the next deadline on April 29th. And then Sunday, May 13th is the absolute final day that you would be able to turn in documentation for wrapping up your internship. So the final set of journals, the final paper, special project, both evaluations for you and your supervisor. So if you know that your supervisor is busy, please, please, please work with them ahead of time to make sure that they have that evaluation submitted by the 13th. And then also you'll have to have that last hours verification sheet signed and posted. So that's a quick review of the syllabus. I will kind of take you over and show you, like I said, in the subfolders that you'll have access to. We just went through the syllabus folder. The next folder is the journal assignments, and you'll see there is a list of each of the biweekly journals. So let me go in and I'll take a look at this week 1 and 2. So what we're looking for in the week 1 and 2 journals, at the beginning we want to kind of know how many hours are you working for each day, and then a total for the week. And then you'll have a short reflection. So 2 to 3 paragraphs telling us a little bit about what you're working on, how things are going, maybe interactions that you're having with coworkers, those sorts of things. So definitely give us some information about how things are going. Confidential journals are confidential. Nobody else reads them except for Rich and I. So you certainly can be honest with how things are going in that reflection. The third part of the journal is then what we call the stages of internship reflection. Each week this reflection question will change, and so we're asking you to kind of read through the description of the stages of internship and then offer your insight to how things are going based on the question for each week. And then you'll see the week 2 part is pretty much the same, except for we want a total for the tally for the 2 weeks. Okay, so those are journals, and you'll see, like I said, they are bi-weekly, so you'll see a different set of journals. And then also we have in here Thanksgiving week, but we can update that to say spring break. So definitely take a look at that if you do work during spring break. In the evaluations folder, there is a Word doc, and it has a link to each of the evaluations that you'll need. So the mid-semester evaluation, the student final evaluation, and the supervisor final evaluation. That will take you to a Google form to fill out. Like I said, this completed assignments for grading. This is where you will turn in your assignments. So there's nothing in this folder right now because there's nothing to turn in at this point. But when you are ready to turn journals in, if you have your goal sheet, if you have your hours verification, put all of your documents in this for grading folder. And then in the assignments and class documents folder is where all of the actual files that you will need for other things as you kind of go. So the goal sheet is in here, confirming hours, the comprehensive paper, special project instructions, sort of all of those things are in here. We've got instructions for how to upload your resume, the photo release, how to post your journals. So if there's something you're looking for, check this particular folder, and you're going to find some information about that. Let me pull up the goal sheet. The goal sheet is meant, like I said, for you and your supervisor to review and to talk about at the very beginning. So you're going to want to spend some time in the next week or so sitting down, having a conversation with them about the things that you want to accomplish within the internship. So we want you to identify some goals or outcomes. What activities or learning methods will you use to do so? How will you measure your growth? And give yourself a deadline for when you hope to complete those items. We certainly, like I said, recommend 3 to 5 things to begin with, and then you can always come back to this document later in the semester to identify what new things you might want to accomplish. This document should be downloaded. You should handwrite on it, or you can fill it out and then download it, but you should have an actual signature for you and your supervisor on this document. Let's see. If you had completed some hours prior to the semester, this is the form that you would fill out. Tell us a little bit about the dates you worked, how many hours you worked, and then just give us some detailed information about why you started prior to the semester, and we'll consider those hours. Both you and your supervisor should sign off on this document as well. The other thing I want to take a look at is the hours verification sheet. This is something that you should be keeping track of from the beginning. So I would print this document out and then start filling in as you go along how many hours you work each week so that you have a tally or a total and that you and Rich or I are on the same page about how many hours that you have completed. This one, again, you'll download at the end and make sure that you have filled this out and have both you and your supervisor sign. All right, well, I think those are the major things that will come through with the internship course. Take a minute to kind of look at the documents, certainly orient yourself to the syllabus, and then look at the actual assignments and documents that are in each of the folders. If you have questions about anything or about the deadlines, please reach out to either myself or to Rich. Thanks.